4, 3, 2. Hello and welcome to the MCTV bi-weekly Marist News Update. I'm Caitlyn Flynn.
And I'm Tim Croteau. We've got a lot in store for you tonight, so let's jump right into our top story. The latest YouTube phenomenon, widely known as the Harlem Shake, has caught the attention of federal investigators after the video found was recorded on board a Frontier Airlines flight. This particular version, being called Shakes on a Plane, has been viewed more than 400,000 times on YouTube. It was recorded by members of the Colorado College Ultimate Frisbee team on their way to a tournament in San Diego over President's Day weekend. The video starts with a signature lone dancer in the aisle of the plane. As the beat increases, most of the plane's passengers appear to join the frantic dance, including a man dressed as a banana and another person wearing an Abraham Lincoln mask. Matt Z. Lynn, a team member who shot the video, says, quote, "I don't see there being any reason why this would cause any trouble. We asked the staff and they said it was safe." A federal official states the video, quote, "looks bad, but as long as it wasn't recorded as the plane was taking off or landing, then it probably isn't a crime." Officials have said if the video was recorded against the wishes of the Frontier flight attendants, the passengers would be charged with interfering with the flight crew. Sources have assured that the team had permission from the flight crew and assured that all safety measures were followed and the seatbelt sign was off while the video was being taped. Aviation experts said the dancing likely had no effect on the structure of the aircraft, which is built to undergo severe turbulence. If all dancers had moved to the front or rear of the plane, it could have created a weight and balance issue for the pilots in the cockpit, but that still wouldn't put the plane in danger of crashing. The Harlem Shake spectacle continues to be replicated by many people performing the same concept. Thousands of versions have been uploaded to YouTube every day since its popularity emerged in early February of this year. Well, now that we know that the plane isn't going to crash, we should probably jump on board a flight and start making some more Harlem Shake videos, right?
I don't know about you, but flying scares me a little bit, and I would definitely not be one to get up in the middle of a flight and move my body like that, let me tell you.
Like, I'm already all, like, cramped and sweaty and, like,
I'm already nervous.
I'm a little, like, angry. Like, everybody's there, and we're all, like, tightly packed. And
crying babies.
I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Well, for more entertainment news, we head over to Brittany Jelinski while she gives us the up-to-date news about who's hot and who's not in Hollywood and what movies are booming in the box office.
Thanks, Caitlyn. First, let's recap the Academy Awards and check out who the big winners were. Our predictions were accurate with the winner for Best Picture. Argo took home the Oscar, and Ben Affleck brought everyone to tears with his acceptance speech. Life of Pi shocked everyone by winning 4 Oscars for cinematography, directing, editing, and visual effects. And I just want to take this time to remind everyone that it was me urging all of Marist campus to see that movie when it came out in theaters, so I'm just going to say that I told you so. And my favorite Hollywood starlet, Jennifer Lawrence, took home the Oscar for Best Actress in a Leading Role for her performance in Silver Linings Playbook. And for those of you who haven't seen that movie, I don't know what you're waiting for. As everyone saw, Jennifer did a bit of a stumble accepting her award, but she did handle it very gracefully, as always. Adele continued to outdo herself once again. She took home the Oscar for Best Original Song with her hit Skyfall. The ballad actually won up to 56% in downloads since the Oscars occurred, and over 56,000 copies. And to address what everyone is thinking, yes, Adele and Taylor Swift are the same age. So I'm just going to let that sink in for everyone watching. TV personality Juliana Rancic has been receiving a lot of heat lately for her comment to Us Weekly, claiming that her and her husband, Bill Rancic, put their marriage first and their child second. She tried to explain that the statement was she was saving a parent's love and it's important in a child's life, especially during growth and development, and her and Bill would like to be able to model that love for their son. I mean, I guess that's a good cover, but moving right along into the big movies this weekend, coming in at the box office in number 3 was The Last Exorcism Part 2. In my opinion, any movie about a demon taking over your body is horrifying, so I'm sure this movie will do its job by freaking audiences out. And number 2 is the comedy 21 and Over. The movie is said to be the Hangover College Edition, which makes sense because the writers of this movie are the same writers from The Hangover and The Hangover Part 2. This movie takes place when two friends try to give their best friend the most unforgettable 21st birthday he could ever imagine, which many students can relate to as well. And in number 1 is Jack the Giant Slayer, which took a new look at Jack and the Beanstalk. As Jack enters a war between giants and humans, this film adds to the trend of going in on recreating fairy tales with Hollywood effects. We'll just have to see what the critics have to say about it. Well, that's all we have for time for this week. I'm Brittany Jelinski, keeping you in the know.
So have you seen any movies lately?
I have actually not been to the movie theaters once since winter break. Definitely a lot of good movies
Yeah,
to
the
go
Oscars
check
were
out.
good too. The Oscars
Yeah,
were good too.
Oscars were very good.
All right, well, not only were there big-name celebrities hitting the red carpet this weekend, but a few documentary film legends came to Marist to help spread the message of eco-friendly consumerism. Each year, Marist College hosts a Sustainability Day. This year was no exception, featuring keynote speakers such as writer and director of the documentary No Impact Man, Colin Devin, as well as the protagonist in the documentary Idle Threat, George Pakenham. Both men had an interesting amount to say about the topic of sustainability. Devin is commonly referred to as the no-impact man because of his journey that was highlighted in his documentary of reducing his and his family's carbon footprint to virtually zero. This included eating no meat, riding a bicycle or walking everywhere, using absolutely no electricity, and believe it or not, using a cooler to keep his food from spoiling. Devin shared a personal story when asked about the hardest part of his experience.
And what was the hardest? Everybody, it's so interesting because we always talk about like what was the hardest. We always imagine that it was hard, and definitely there were hard parts. In fact, there was a stage at which the electricity was off, so I had to do the laundry by hand. Doing 3 people's laundry by hand is it was on me. And one night, Isabella, my little girl, was sick, and she threw up all over her sheets. So I got up and I changed the sheets, and I threw the dirty sheets in the bathtub. And I thought, poor little girl, because I wasn't thinking about my poor sick little girl. I was thinking about how I was going to have to clean chunks of throw up out of sheets by hand. And then I changed the bed, and she threw up all over the second set of sheets. And I threw those in that tub. And like I say, poor little girl's feeling miserable, but all I'm thinking is, can you keep it in? Anyway, I woke up in the morning, and I'm faced with these crusty sheets, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to give myself a pass. I'm going to take these sheets down to the washing machines in the basement of the building, and I'm going to wash them. And I thought, and as long as I'm doing that and running the washing machines anyway, it wouldn't really be environmentally efficient if I didn't fill the laundry machine with the rest of our clothes. And so I did that, and then the next day I was kind of like, well, I cheated once this week already, I'll do it. And then before you knew it, I just decided I'm giving up on that part. But the washing of the clothes is, I didn't need a dryer, I hung the clothes to dry, but I decided I started using the washing machine, and that was it for the rest.
Sustainability Day also hosted a swap where students could come and swap out their old things for something new. This innovative way of recycling was just one way Marist wanted to deliver the message of reduce, reuse, and recycle to its students.
A more unusual story has popped up across from the Atlantic. Last week in Brantford, a town in northern England, a burglar was brought to a local police station by an interesting figure. A man dressed in a full Batman costume was brought the criminal to the station and left without ever leaving his name. He apparently was wearing gloves, a cape, and a mask, and the costume was ill-fitting due to his portly figure. He disappeared after handing in the suspect, and the local hero's identity still remains unknown. The burglar was arrested and charged with handling stolen goods. So Tim, if you were to go on a burgling spree, which superhero would you be?
I don't really know. I guess probably Captain America.
Why is that?
He's definitely my favorite. He's probably the least likely person to rob. He's Captain America. He's really patriotic. He probably wouldn't do something like that. I don't think Batman would do something like that either. So
this is true. Well, getting back to some on-campus news, we have a treat for you all tonight. MCTV News is giving you an exclusive look at the development of a new app that will be coming out soon for smartphone users. The concept? An MCTV News app. For more, here we go to Peter Malavenda.
Here with me is Brian Valvano. He is the brainchild of the new MCTV app. Still in the developmental stages, the app is being referred to as Project Code Red. But before I give too much away, let's hear from the expert himself. Hello, Brian.
Hi, Peter.
So what is Project Code Red?
Project Code Red is the continued development of the official app of Marist College Television. And let me start out by saying that 2013 is going to be a big year for this organization. The way that we came up with the name for Project Code Red was I was thinking of things that had to do with Marist. So I was playing around with foxes and red and all this kind of stuff, and we just said, well, why don't we just call it Project Code Red? And so that was the name that we decided on. Now, the team is made up of me, another developer, his name is Brian, another Android developer, and a social media expert. And so this is kind of like the Avengers of app creating, as I've been calling it. So we've brought together the most creative people to create this app for you guys.
That's great. So what inspired you to start this project?
Well, I've always wanted to do an app for a large organization, and I've been doing some work in that area for the past couple of years. But mainly, I wanted to do an app for MCTV because I went to some of my friends and I asked them, oh, you guys, guess what? I'm making an app for MCTV. And they looked at me and they said, what's MCTV? And I said, you don't know what MCTV is? No, I don't. And I was like, well, it stands for Marist College Television. So right there, I knew that, we could expand our audience. And by having an app that, shows, which I'm going to talk about, is they're going to show videos of each episode and provide a schedule. We'll just broaden our audience base.
So what's your past experience creating apps?
Well, I guess I could just go back to high school where it all began. I've not been doing apps per se. I've been doing creative projects. So the first creative project that I did was I made a 3D PowerPoint for some of my projects that I did in high school. And it got me a couple hundreds and got me past a couple of times by doing that. But I used to create these PowerPoints with these images, and I got 3D glasses for everyone. I mean, it was high school, so I didn't get the best reception from everyone, when high school was rough. But, I kept to that. But then I moved on to writing a tech blog, and then I wrote another blog, but this one had to do with music videos. And then I looked at both of them and I said, well, what if I can make an app for them? And that's exactly what I did. The first app that I made was named Orbiter, and that was for my technology blog. But the second one was named Avancel, and that has to do with music videos. So now,
okay, so why did you choose MCTV for this?
I chose MCTV because I did an assessment the first semester, and I said, well, out of all the organizations, because I always knew I wanted to do an app for an organization, it was just a matter of which one, and MCTV seemed like the best one for making this app.
Okay. A couple quick last questions. Will you be able to stream MCTV from the application?
That's a very good question. I didn't think about that beforehand, but that might be version 2.0 or 3.0, depending on how much we can get done in these next 3 years.
Great. And if people want to find out more, how can they get more information?
They can go online on Facebook, type in Project Code Red into the top search bar. We're also on Twitter. That's at Project Code Red. And I think that's pretty much it. And they'll be able to see, we're going to start posting some surprises of early clips of what this app might actually look like.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Brian.
Thank you, Peter.
Back to you guys.
Now, as everyone knows, the Marist College Student Body President elections were held this past week. Before we reveal the results of who won the race for the Student Body President, in case anyone hasn't heard yet, we want to spend a little bit of time talking about the debates that happened only 4 days before voting opened to the student body. The debate was covered live by MCTV and will be airing right after this program for those who missed it. Here are some of the highlights. Each candidate and his or her running mate showed up with a strong demeanor. However, shortly into the debate, a few nerves were rattled. Alex Mikowski and her running mate, Shayla Baum, had a few missteps along the way. Things got a bit heated in the middle of the debate when candidates were able to ask their opponents questions.
I'm made aware on several occasions that you have expressed several disagreements towards Alex's campaign strategy. My question to you is, if you cannot agree with Alex under the minor pressure of a 2-week campaign, do you think you can still work with her or be an effective team as student body and executive vice president, which carries much more pressure?
To be honest, I wasn't made aware of any disagreements, sorry. Alex and I are both very busy, so at first it was very frustrating because we have class at different times. I have class in the morning. Her class schedule usually starts at 3:30. So it was very hard when I was not focused on our own campaign and focused on John Anthony went door to door here already, and Deborah was already hanging up shirts in the cafeteria. So it was very frustrating, but I wouldn't say that I disagreed with her, and we have sat down and we made a schedule that works for us for campaigning. We told each other to stay positive, stay focused, hugged it out. It was all great, and that's how it works. We have problems, we speak to each other and not about each other.
To follow up, still on the clock here. Shaylin is the emotional, wonderful, loving side, and I can be, the tough cookie. And how our relationship works is that we lean on each other. Campaigning in this past week and a half has been the most emotionally draining, tiring experience, and it is wonderful, and you learn about each other and your partner, and I think it's a really great growing experience for how you're going to run your administration. And I'm sure all the candidates can agree with that. So yes, we do have emotional times, we're girls, so sometimes we have to cry it out, and it's a great bonding, loving, experience for each other, especially as roommates, but not once have we ever had a disagreement that I felt, and I know that she has felt, has affected our personal relationship, and especially not our SJ relationship, because if anything, it's made us such a stronger team and helped our communication skills.
Baum and Mikowski were not the only ones asked tough questions. Deborah Akinwumi and Jane Tracy faced a little turbulence as well when opponent John Anthony Damasco asked how living with freshmen for the last 3 years will affect her ability to lead a student body that lives all over.
The fact that I have lived in freshman housing for the past 3 years, I do believe that I have grown as an individual. I think being an RA for freshman residence halls has to be one of the biggest growing experience you can receive at Marist College. That being said, while I have lived in freshman housing for the past 3 years, I've still maintained connections with upperclassmen. My best friends have lived in Midrise, and trust me, it's been my second home. My best friends currently live in Lower Fulton, and I'll tell you right now, it is my second home. So while I'm there across the street or on this side of campus, I do make great aims to move around campus as much as possible. And then to speak specifically to programming in the cabaret, we not only program in the cabaret, but we've programmed in the Woods by Gartland. We've programmed in the library. We plan on programming in Jasmine's. We are not limited to one area by any means. And our goal is to expand as a class board and to program especially to our constituents this semester.
However, MCTV News is pleased to announce that Marist College's new student body president is Deborah Akinwumi, and the new executive vice president is her running mate, Jane Tracy. Announced at the SGA election results party, the two were sworn in to represent Marist College throughout the new academic year. Here they are seen with April Bollier, who worked as part of the Paulson administration last year. Good luck with the year to come.
Well, I'm very happy for Deb. I was actually able to attend the debates, and I was actually there for MCTV, but all the candidates definitely did a phenomenal job. But for her, she particularly stood out to me. I just felt she had the total package.
Really? Yeah, I know she was an RA. I know she brought that up a few times. I think that's actually a really good experience. That really, shows, how
Definitely.
good of a leader you can be.
I was just going to say great leadership representation. So I think she'll do a great job this year.
Definitely.
The last story we have for you tonight. Last week, students packed into the Nellie Galati Theater for a not-so-classic battle royale. For the first time in Marist history, a male beauty pageant was held for all male students to compete in. Over 50 students initially applied, and 21 of them were chosen to move on to the next round. One more elimination left a mere 10 students left for the live competition. The show featured 4 categories that helped the 3 judges determine who would take home the crown. Talent, sportswear, and school spirit, followed by a question and answer session, allowed the students to flex their creative minds and muscles. Questions in the last segment ranged from favorite late-night food stops to describing the Marist experience in a single word. One of the more popular stunts performed involved one student having his chest waxed by his date. Although the audience could not vote on a winner, friends of those competing came out and cheered for their own Mr. Marist. Cameron Shue walked away as the first ever Mr. Marist, and the two sophomore SGA members who put the event together hope to make it a yearly competition.
Well, I actually didn't attend that event, unfortunately, but it sounds like it was a great time.
I actually did not attend either, but we'll definitely put that on my things to do for next year.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like waxing a guy's chest to bring out your day.
Nothing like watching a bunch of guys compete in beauty pageant. That's what I'm in it for.
All right, well, that looks like that's it for today. For MCTV News, my name's Tim Croteau.
And I'm Caitlyn Flynn. Thanks for stopping by.